Hey, bae.
Given that's how we live it, don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I love you. God loves you best. Welcome back to my channel. You're tuned into Ronnie P TV. I am yours truly, Ronnie P. And if this is your first time joining, thank you so much for tuning in. Tonight, we are going to be reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 10, Episode 4. Oh boy, they really got into it tonight. So, I'm not going to go specifically in the order that they went in because I want to save Mika and Michael, Eminem, and Zach and Mindy for last. So, the episode starts off with day one of marriage, and we determine if the couples consummated their marriage on the first night. First, we have Derek and Katie. The first thing I noticed about their scenes was right before the clip was over, you saw Katie in her cute little pajamas and her little cheeks was hanging out. I was like, go ahead, girl, do your little bedtime twerk. I thought that was cute, but I did like her pajamas. And they let us know that they did not have sex. I really thought that they were going to start the fire, but I guess they didn't. And then we have Michael and Mika. Just in the most normalcy of a world, if they really were a couple, they still would look like they just shouldn't be together. But he does kiss her before they turn in for the night, and I'm strictly still skeptical on them, but I have all the reason to be more so now. But Mika does express later on in the episode that they spent like an hour talking before they went to sleep. So I thought that was good. And then we have Mindy and Zach. They too did not have sex on the first night. Neither did Brandon and Taylor or Austin and Jessica. I'm looking at my notes because when I talk about them, I use the initials. I'm used to BTMZ, AJ, and Eminem, and DK. See, I can remember those. So trying to remember their names when I've already memorized the initials, but I want to use their names. The one thing that was very deceiving about a scene right at the initiation of the honeymoon before they actually went on their official honeymoon, when they were still at the hotel, was when Brandon and Taylor pulled the covers up. That was really deceitful to the audience. But of course, we know they didn't have sex. They just chatted all night until they went to sleep. And then Austin and Jessica, they have a conversation about cooking. Neither one of them are cooks. He expresses to her how his cuisine that he's able to prepare is chicken. And then she shares with him that her diet is more of a pescatarian. And those are people who eat fish. And then Jessica asked Austin, did he keep his ring on the night before? And he's like, yeah, I thought we were supposed to. Yes, Austin, you're supposed to keep your ring on. Maybe at some point in time, or maybe if you like have swelling, bloat or something like that, you can take it off. other than that, or if you're in the hospital because they have you take off all your jewelry. But other than that, you keep your ring on. And Jessica had her ring on as well. Another thing that stuck out to me was when Derek thought it was so awesome that Katie didn't have morning breath, or as he referred to it, dragon breath. Well, no, that's what she referred to it as. But she shares that she got up and she brushed her teeth before he woke up, which a lot of us do. And she's expressed that she said maybe later on he'll get the dragon breath. But I'm sure, your morning breath isn't as bad if you brush your teeth at night. That's just an FYI. Okay, another thing that I thought was like, what the is when Brandon was talking about how he leaves the toilet seat up. Okay, fair enough, because you were a bachelor, you were used to certain routines, so okay, you left the toilet seat up. But he was sharing this information as if this is what I do and you're gonna have to adjust. And I'm like, no, you have to adjust to putting the seat down. And then he says to her, as long as you don't fall in, then we won't have a problem. He is just not it for me. Then back to Mika and Michael, there's a scene where the breakfast tray comes and he brings in the tray and they're in bed and they have their separate dishes. And so I don't know if he wanted to let her taste some of his food, or maybe he wanted to taste some of her food, but she was like, I don't eat off of other people. I don't eat from other people. And he expressed what I thought was logical. He said, so you were willing to marry a whole stranger but not try their food? And her response was, I know, it's weird, isn't it? Girl. Then they have the opportunity to meet with their in-laws. Each couple meets with in-laws and friends of their spouse. And I thought this was really interesting because they were giving telltale signs of what's later on to come about each of these particular individuals, more so the husbands than the wives. For instance, we start with Austin and Jessica's twin sister and her brother-in-law. Well, this one was pretty good because Twin, as I like to affectionately refer to her, she was very approving of Austin. She feels like they have the same family values, and she is very hopeful that their marriage will be promising. So I thought that was really good. They were very welcoming of him, and that was pretty much it with them. Then Jessica meets with her in-laws, Austin's grandmother, his mother, which her name is, did I write it down? I think it's Tammy. Yes, Miss Tammy. He met with and she met with her father-in-law. She initially expressed how she felt like Miss Tammy was intimidating, like, ooh. So, but the good news is Jessica has proved me wrong. Miss Tammy approves of her, and Jessica is a keeper. So you earned your title. Kudos to you, girlfriend. Taylor meets with her mother-in-law, which is, did I write her name down? Miss Tammy. Another Tammy. And I think the other lady that was with her was Brandon's aunt. The first thing that I noticed was Taylor, I don't know if they edited it that way, but it just seems like she had the nervous giggles. And she wanted to show them this necklace that Brandon had gifted her with, and it was in a heart, and it said Mrs. Reed. I thought that was a very sweet gift too. It would have been even nicer if it was Tiffany's. But Miss Tammy and his aunt were approving of Taylor. She approved of her. She expressed that she thought she was beautiful. She was very smart and progressive, intelligent, and had a good head on her shoulders, and she felt like they would be able to help each other grow together. She saw them both as ambitious and forward moving with their careers, so I thought that was good. But based on what I see of Taylor right now, I don't know why anyone wouldn't approve of her. Then Brandon meets with his in-laws. He meets with Miss, did I write her name down? I didn't write her name down, but I think it's Anita. Miss Anita. We meet with her sister, I guess that's Taylor's aunt, and Taylor's cousin, Prima, her cousin Tasha. Oh, let me tell you, Tasha was not here for Brandon. Like, he's not very well spoken. He still has that weird monotone about him that he just rubs me all kinds of wrong. I just can't. But they were concerned. I put a question mark by him in the notes because Tasha had to ask him. She said, "How old are you?" I think Brandon was really intimidated by what was going on at that table, and his mother-in-law expressed that she felt like it would be very hopeful, and she gave positive feedback. The aunt, who is beautiful by the way, the aunt expressed, as long as you make Taylor happy, you have a happy family. And then Brandon decided to quote cliche, happy wife, happy life, and she said, and happy family. And then he kind of looked. I was like, oh, I know what that's like. And let me tell you something. You just can't always win people over. And I'm the type of person, I believe in keeping my receipts, if you know what I mean. Then we have Derek. Derek went to meet with his father-in-law / spirit father, because they really look like they're related. Dante, which is Katie's father. And they're very promising of Derek as well. Shannon, which is Katie's mother, referred to him as Mr. Right. So I thought that was cute. But she just shed so many tears that made me think, okay, that's her baby girl. She's like, oh gosh, I'm having to let go. Because while she's happy, I guess we'll just call them tears of joy. And then Katie, she meets with Derek's family, and Derek's family's concern, his mother brought up the concern of divorce. Both Derek and Katie have experienced divorce between their parents, and so Derek's mother wanted to know how would Katie approach that. And Katie said she feels like she's not only learned from her parents' mistakes, but she's also gained wisdom from her grandparents, who have a very long and thriving marriage and relationship. And she feels like between those two that she would be able to see her marriage working. And also she says she has a strong ability for pulling things out of people, especially with given her profession as a therapist. She believes that, she'll be able to help him open up with things where he might not be so inclined to share right away. But nevertheless, They were approving. She got their seal of approval. Boom. Okay, now we have Mindy and Zach. Oh, it's about to get real. So Mindy goes to meet with Zach's family, his friends, his mother, and his friend immediately expresses that Zach has a very stoic demeanor. He doesn't appeal to emotion, whether it be anger or whether it be affection. He's pretty much just hanging in the balance, him and his hair. And then also, that was the big thing with me. But Mindy said that she felt like there would be a balance between them because she's a very affectionate person, and she feels like she would be able to, initially she expressed that she felt like she'd be able to handle his emotions balanced with her emotions. And of course, Zach's mother approved of Mindy, but I see some rough waves in the water to come. And then Zach meets with Mindy's family, her sister Taj, and her friend Shani, which was a bridesmaid. And their concern is about Mindy being hurt based on previous relationships and previous experiences. She's fallen head over heels for her lovers, and they've hurt her deeply. And I guess it pretty much left some deep scarring. Hopefully, I would hope that she's healed from that, but we see some signs later on in the episode, maybe not so much. And Taj expresses deeply, she's just afraid about her sister getting hurt. And Shani was just straight up. She was like, look, you seem like a nice guy and all, but I don't know you, bruh. So I don't know what you bringing to the table for my friend, because I love her. I was living for Shani. She just kept it all the way $1. And then she's been, and I said that in the first review, how I felt like Zach is the type of person that can woo you and he'll make you feel all good inside, but then he could drop you and leave you with a black emotional hole now that you have to heal and fill. So I put a question mark by his name because they're very concerned, and they should be concerned about Zach and his hair. Whew. Then we have Mika. Mika went to meet with Michael's Muntie, his mom auntie, and his sister cousin, because he was adopted into his own family. He met with his best friend Matthew, and there were a couple of other people, but those were the 3 significant people. And so they asked, were they able to, how was everything going so far? And she again expressed how they were able to talk for, a little over an hour before they went to bed, and she felt like it was good. Here's another red flag for this couple. Muntie expresses how Michael, if he's pushed too much, he runs. Like, he'll shut down, just down. And we see an example of that later on in the episode, but we're not going to jump ahead. And so then Mika expresses in her confessional how, that could be a challenge because she is accustomed to challenging people, but she says it's in a good way. So she's not sure. I don't think she's sure how she will respond to that when and if it happens, but we see how she responds to it later on. Then Michael goes to meet with Miss Tamika, which is Mika's mother, Miss Nancy, which is her aunt, and her cousin. Didn't get the name. But the cousin asks, have you ever cheated? And Michael, being the chameleon that he is, started to fumble over his words. It's a simple yes or no. But he had to get the just right, politically correct answer for the camera. And his response was, yes, he ended up cheating emotionally. How well thought out. You cheated emotionally. Now, don't get me wrong. I too have had an experience with infidelity. And unfortunately, it was in my marriage. So I understand what he's saying, but I just don't believe him. And Miss Tamika expressed how she appreciated and respected his honesty, but she is going to hold him accountable in hopes that he respects her daughter, his wife, and their marriage. And I agree. And then we have day 2 of the honeymoon, and the couples find out they are going to Panama. They're going to spend 1 week in Panama at the Westin Playa something. And let's get into this. They check in. The couples are able to now meet the counterpart spouses, so the husbands kind of get to meet the wives and vice versa. And Mindy is very observant. Mindy expresses how she notices that Austin and Jessica are a perfect match because they're both quirky and just goofy, and they just are the perfect two Smurfs. Then she notices how Derek and Katie, they just really seem like, okay, they're really into the honeymoon phase. And she notices immediately that Mika and Michael don't seem too much like a couple. She expresses how you can see that there's tension between them and you can cut it with a knife. That is a predecessor to what's to come. And Jessica mentions something later on. I just have to talk about this. Jessica mentioned something about the hardships of planning a wedding, picking out a dress, having to pick up the wedding band, and having to select, finalize the guest list. Sweetheart, that was just the tip of the iceberg. The television show did all the hard work. All you had to do was get a dress, get a wedding band, which is, you don't know his taste and his style. So if you would have gotten simple gold band, a nice black titanium, it would have been fine. And a guest list, you know who you like. And if anyone was offended, they didn't pay for it. So these are some things that happened on day 2 after they checked in. I want to start with, that was the thing with Jessica. And later on, when they were going to bed, she just kept laughing hysterically. She's like, okay, I'm going to bed for real this time. And then she just starts laughing. I refuse to do that freakish shriek of a laugh that she kept doing at least 3 times. And then I didn't know what was going on with Austin. Like, his eyes kept rolling in his head. He had his arm over his forehead. I didn't know if he felt awkward, maybe because the cameras are in there, and he's like, I really can't get comfortable. And then she just kept laughing nervously, saying that, oh, I'm just so excited. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. But I think it had more to do with the cameras. Then Brandon and Taylor. Brandon really likes the sound of Mrs. Reed. He doesn't refer to Taylor by her name. He refers to Taylor by her new married name, Mrs. Reed, which is fine. I mean, I guess maybe that's his way of getting acclimated and getting used to it. Like, okay, this is real. I'm married and I have a wife and her name is Mrs. Reed. And Taylor is all bushy-eyed and just lollipops and gumdrops and excited about what Brandon seems to be. And that's definitely so. I don't know. I really feel like there's going to be a twist or turn to their story. But so far, Taylor's still on the up and up and Brandon's still weird. Then we have, we're getting down to the creme de la creme. So I am going to start with Mika and Michael. Okay, so this got real fast. Mika starts to express in a confessional that Michael said to her on the airplane that if they did not have sex within that week of their honeymoon, that he didn't want to stay in that marriage. So basically he gave her an ultimatum, like on day 2 of their honeymoon, their marriage. Like, we're in day 2 not only of the honeymoon but of our entire relationship, and you tell me if we don't get it in before we leave Panama, it's a no-go? I got you, bruh. I can't go for that. I cannot. Who does he think he is? What is he saying to me? So if I don't pop my coochie in 7 days, then you gonna bounce? I don't know you anyway. Count my blessings, cut my losses. I dodged a bullet. Mika, as I would, took that very serious. But this is where it gets really interesting. When she confronted him in the hotel room, which I thought she was a very well spoken. She spoke clearly, concisely, and she spoke from her heart. She wasn't attacking him. I did not take it as she was attacking him in any way. She was expressing her true feelings about what he had said to her. And then she said how he appears and presents himself one way on camera, but then he's totally different when the cameras are not present. And she wanted him to, on camera, for the record, acknowledge that he said that to her. And he sat there. And he says, I didn't say that. She said, wait a minute. You didn't say that? He said, no, I didn't say that. She said, so you're going to sit here and say that we didn't have that conversation on the airplane, and you didn't tell me that if I don't have sex with you within the first week of the honeymoon that we couldn't stay together. He said, what I said is we have 1 week to make this work. What you mean? I don't like. Okay. Release. yeah, I really felt like that scene was really feeling like Me Too movement. Like, it was really cringeworthy because you don't know her, and to say something like that, but then on camera you're always presenting it. And she said it too, like, oh, you know, I'm not going to pressure my wife. I want to respect her space. I want to respect her boundaries and her wishes, and I want things to be, you know, when she feels like she's ready. But then you tell her, we have 1 week to make this work. Elaborate on that thought. What do you mean by it? We have 1 week to make this work? That would have been my question. I've learned not to jump the gun and assume. I rather respond with a question, and it's simply for clarity. And then Michael decides that he feels that they should sleep in separate rooms for the night and bring it back together in the morning, because neither one of them expected for their honeymoon to start that way. I will agree with that. But the going to the separate room, I guess that's where he felt pushed, and therefore he shut down. I felt like he got put on blast, and therefore he walked out because he was confronted, and she was being straightforward and direct. And he said that he was coming from a place of straightforwardness and direct during this alleged conversation that he didn't say that they had 1 week to have sex. And how she was quoting was she was quoting him verbatim. But we got 1 week to make it work. She said, well, this isn't going to work at all if you can't be honest. When someone says that, I really don't feel like she was giving us smoke and mirrors. I think she was trying to let us in on the inside to what's really going on. And she said, you know, maybe if you had been as honest with me on that plane with the therapist and the experts, maybe we could have avoided all this, and I would have never even been matched with you. Ooh, that was a word. She gave the word. Lastly, we have Zach and Mindy. How far am I going? Oh, I'm going to have to edit this. Zach and Mindy. Okay, real quick. Mindy got all in her feelings. She started expressing a lot of insecurity, and it was like, girl, you don't need to be focused on the other couples. You need to be focused on what's going on between you and Zach. Zach expressed, he's like, I'm not trying to rush any public PDAs. I feel you, Zach. I don't know you, girl. Like, we haven't even gotten like blood test, blood work. We're already kissing each other. You could have like some dormant coral sores or something. And I've never had a bum bump. So to get one, I would really be in my feelings. So before you know it, you know, he's in there grooming himself, and he's like, you know, chillax, we're good, you know, don't focus on the other couples. I'm not with all that emotion stuff anyway, which again was expressed by his family. He is Sir Stoic. But he told her, you know, we're moving in our own pace, and we're good. And so she seemed like she calmed down. Then girlfriend said, I hope you're not going to be, you know, freaked out or whatever, but I'm going to just go ahead and take a shower in the morning. He was like, oh, hell to the nah. I'm not sleeping with a big old puddle of oil. And she was like, well, you know, you don't have to cuddle with me or anything like that. I'll just stay on this side. You don't have to cuddle with me. She was like, but the thing is, you have to cuddle with me. He said, ew, I'm not sleeping with oil. And the funny thing about it is like they do, certain people do excrete a lot of oil from their pores, from their skin, which is why they have to shampoo and cleanse their hair regularly. So yeah, I thought that was funny as heck. But she looked like she had just got jumped by a group of girls, but they didn't like physically beat her up. They just beat her up with words, and she just looked like little Annie in the corner. I felt so bad, but it was still entertaining. Then a few minutes later, we see homegirl walking down the hallway looking like part of half like Blair Witch and half like Paranormal Activity going on. And she's like, all I know is I'm not going back in that room. I don't know what I got myself into. He just expressed to me that he's not building an attraction to me. And I told him, well, I guess it's not gonna work. And he said, well, that's not the answer I was expecting. I probably wouldn't have said that either, because I think she was expecting a different answer and she didn't get it from him. So it really took a blow to her. She is very emotionally cracked. She is. She has a lot of cracks that were super glued, but she needs to like really heal, because she's expressing a lot of, or she's demonstrating a lot of insecure behaviors, and it's not a good look. Here's my summary thoughts. Okay, Mika and Michael, I'm over it. I'm ready and looking forward to next week's episode. I don't know what could possibly happen, but I think it's going to be even uglier than this week. Zach and Mindy, I think Mindy needs to just bring it down like a lot of notches and just bask in the moment and just take time to get to know him and not rush it just because you see other people acclimating. Like he said, I've seen a lot of couples, you know, that they start out like that, but that's why it's called the honeymoon phase. And he's like, I want to get to know you. I want to build a friendship. I want to be like, you know, what's your favorite color, girl? I get it. Thank you so much for tuning in for this review. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you felt about this episode of Married at First Sight. As always, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate, and I would appreciate it if I could get at least, let me pick a number, an additional 20, just 20 subscriptions. 20 new members to subscribe, 20 new bays in my life. That would mean so much to me. And you know, you got to start at a slow pace, but steady as they go is what makes it. I will leave my social media in the corner here. And if you liked this, you can subscribe here. And to see my next video, you can go here. As always, thank you for watching. Mwah. Till next time. Bye.